Hello and welcome to ThePrint. I'm Sagrika Kisu and today I'm joined by journalist and author Rudraneil Sengupta to talk about his new book, The Beast Within. This work of crime fiction is a riveting read as it traverses the dark and the gritty while laying bare the complexities of human existence. Welcome to the print, Rudraneil.
Thank you so much, Sarika.
An impressive read, as I've already mentioned.
Thank you.
But before we dive into the content of the book, I want to talk about your journey. From you have been known for your work on sports. You're a sports writer and journalist. So, from being a sports writer to writing crime fiction, how did it come about?
So I started my journalism career in sports. That's true, and I have been a sports journalist for about 15 years. And at some point, and I joined a features team because I wanted to do something different, and I started doing some feature stories, usually based on social issues. And at some point, my editor, who's very kindly told me that he really likes the way I'm writing about people and their lives, and he said, "Do you want to do more long form stories?" And I said, absolutely. So I grabbed that chance with both hands at a time when long form stories were still very much in demand. I think the demand has gone down now, but back then it was something really cool to do. And so he gave me the opportunity, my editor, to go out and spend a lot of time on the field to doing all kinds of different stories. And at that point of time, I did a series of stories on crime, which included looking at one of Delhi's worst hit districts in terms of crime, which was there was rampant kidnapping and murder and all kinds of robberies. Like a Delhi is known as a city with high crime loads, but that place was a real hellhole. So I spent time staying there, talking to various people, including politicians as well as people on the road, gangsters, cops, to understand what life is like in a place like that with such high crime rates. Um, and that's how I kind of started getting introduced to that part of journalism. So I made friends in the police force, and then they gave me some more stories to do, and so I started doing more and more of these long form journalistic stories on crime, and that's how that kind of shift happened.
So, one of the many things that I loved in the book was how you have humanized the cop's life.
Yes.
Cinema has been doing it for some time, but you have taken it to different level with your deep and intense writing. Like the Kumar, who is the protagonist in the movie, you have shown him with all his fallacies. He's
Right.
lonely, he's vulnerable, he's shrewd, and he's also forlorn. So you've shown Kumar as a full picture of Kumar while sticking to the plot. So
Yes.
I wanted to understand that what kind of research it took to get such intricate details of a cop's life.
Well, yes, it took a lot of research. It took a lot of time, spending a lot of time with cops. Um, and like, I obviously, when I first started doing these things, I had the same kind of idea about the police as I suppose most people do, which is that they are not really good at what they do, and they're a hindrance rather than help in society. And I would be scared of cops, right? So, and but then when once I started being with them and seeing the kind of work they have, I realized that just like anywhere else, there's a lot of good people and there are some bad people and there are some mediocre people. It's a mix, right? And the good people are really, the odds are stacked against them, not only because of the high amount of crime, but also because the way the police is structured, it's very difficult to actually really work with any meaning, because a single police officer might have at any point of time 7, 8, 9 open cases of all kinds of different kinds of cases. That's because Delhi police, for example, does not have a murder department. So
Yes,
if you have a murder, it will come to it depends on the
to the
severity of the case.
and crime branch. It will come to
Yeah,
crime
it
branch.
might come to crime branch if it's serious enough, or it might just be at the local thana. But the point is that whoever the investigative officer is already has like a robbery case, a fraud case, a cheating case that he's working on while
Yeah.
he's trying to work the crime case, while he's attending court dates. It leaves them with no time. They're working all the time. And but but the good police officers are still making it work. They are still prosecuting, they're still going and investigating, they're still trying to do the right thing. And so they are as complex as any human being, really. So once I got to know them, that was not really difficult to see. And so yes, a lot of that makes its way into Inspector Kumar. And a lot of my own life experiences make it into Inspector Kumar. So and a lot of it also is imagination. So it's a combination of all these three things. Just sitting and thinking about, okay, if here's this man who has this kind of a life and who has this kind of a case, what is he going to think like, what is his emotional reaction going to be like, and then just stressing on those things, like, giving it real importance in the plot.
Without giving away much of the plot, I want to know that I want to tell the viewers that the book is not only about crime in Delhi, but it also shows that how the Delhi as a city has evolved over a period of time,
Yes.
right? It shows that Delhi as an unequal caste society. And I found that scene particularly uh, powerful, where a young girl who is a house help, and she has died on the wall. Her dead body is on the
Yes.
wall, and her death shakes Kumar, and he picks the case, which could have been easily dismissed as a suicide.
Yes.
And how this movement lays bare the harsh realities of the society we live in the sense that the murder has happened in a post society of Panchsheel Vihar, and the riches in that society are saying them now, asking the police to build walls and all of that
Mm.
so that they can keep away from the slum area nearby.
Yes.
So when you were writing this book, and when you were particularly writing this scene, like, what were you thinking exactly? Because it's such a powerful scene. You're sticking to the plot, but you're also talking about so many things there.
Hmm. Thank you, and that's a lovely way of not giving too much away. And I hope I don't give things away while I'm talking. But so the thing is that again, there's personal experience in this, in seeing these kind of schisms in society. And I just want to make it very clear that it's, while the setting is Delhi and the language is Delhi and the people are very Delhi like, I don't think that these divisions in society exist only in Delhi. It exists all over India. In fact, Delhi may be one of the most welcoming places in terms of how it treats people from all over the country. And and Delhi doesn't have a single community that claims that Delhi is theirs, and everybody else is an outsider. So I think it's a very welcoming city for people from all over India. But at the same time, of course, just like everywhere else in India, there is a very deep set of divisions that work along caste, that work along class, that work along economic status, right? And I think it is a knee-jerk reaction, not just in Delhi but across the world, that if there's a crime, then the poorer economic sections of society bear the brunt of the system, right? Um, and it's no different. And I had seen this happen very close to my house, where there was a spate of robberies, and then everybody went crazy about those people who are living in the nearby, not really a slum but a poorer economic area, the place from where all the domestic workers were coming. Okay, that was heavily, like, penalized for no apparent reason. And I found that very disturbing, that okay, you have no proof of who has done this, and you don't really know where the robbers have come from, but yet your focus has entirely been on that particular area. And they had built walls, and they made a gate, and then they locked the gate, and they said, okay, domestic workers must come in at this time, and they must sign in, and then they sign out, and all of that. Um, and I don't know what really happened with that robbery case, but it seemed to me like, you can't,
They're the
the
easy victims
that's,
of.
they are easy victims, and you cannot possibly treat people who are better off the way you
Mhm.
are treating them. So the treatment was completely based on their economic status. So, and we see that all around us all the time. And yeah, so that was important for me to kind of look
So
at.
it's not only your research, but also your experiences that you have
Absolutely.
shared in the book.
Yes.
So coming to the portrayal of Meera,
Hmm.
who is a SI, and now she's working with Kumar.
Yes.
Uh, what I particularly liked in her portrayal was the way you say that she got cauliflower like ears.
Yes.
Your sports journalist comes there. And that was such an intricate detail, and when I read it I smiled. I was like, okay, had it been anyone else he would have missed this detail. And how Meera identifies everyone in the room, saying, okay, Naresh doesn't have, he's saying that he's a wrestler but he isn't, he doesn't have cauliflower like ears.
Yes.
Okay, he doesn't, and he's does, you know. So I thought that Rudraneil has also given a glimpse into the wrestling world. You have touched upon so many things. So tell me a little about this kind of deep writing, character building, where you're not only talking about crime, but you're also touching upon different uh, domains like
Right.
caste, inequality, you're talking about sports, and you're giving those things in great details while you're sticking to the crime. You're not, So
Yes.
tell me a little about that.
So one thing that I kept reminding myself throughout the writing of this book is a very old saying. It's a cliche almost that one should write about what one knows.
Hmm.
Okay, and it's very easy when you're when I suppose, at least for me, it was a temptation as a first time writer of fiction, to think that, oh, my imagination is the limit. I This is, it's all make believe, so I can do and say
Hmm.
whatever I want. My editor actually pointed out to me, but no, your world has to be very consistent, and one of the things for your world to be consistent is that the details must be right. And how do you get the details right? It's only because when you write about the things that you know. So it comes back, no matter how cliched it sounds, I think it's very important to write about the things you know. So as a sports journalist, I think my main focus was wrestling. I was fascinated by wrestlers and the world of wrestling. I didn't know anything about it before I became a sports journalist. And when I found out the kind of deep love and traditional values that wrestling has
Yeah.
in India across the country, and how, generation after generation in a single family will become wrestlers, I got fascinated because it was much more than a sport. It was a cultural thing. It was of great importance, and so I really went deep into the world of wrestling. I did one of the first stories about the Fogat sisters much before,
Anybody could have picked
and
it up.
yeah, and much before anybody else knew about them. I did one of the first stories about these five sisters and at that point of time, their village was really back of beyond. It was fantastic. It was surrounded by forests, a beautiful place.
And you
Um,
also mentioned while describing Meera, when everyone says that, are you forgot?
yeah,
So,
right,
that how someone who is not into
right,
wrestling looks at wrestling through the lens of Haryana
yeah,
and through the lens of Fogat sisters if
right.
it's a woman.
Absolutely, and so and rightfully so. I mean, they are really pioneers of in women's wrestling in India, and everybody, of course, knows their extremely inspirational story because of Amir Khan's movie.
Yeah.
And
And sorry to cut you in
yeah,
between, but let me tell my viewers that Rudraneil has also written a book on wrestling named Enter the Dangle. So it's a reportage.
that's right. So that was my first book. It's a non-fiction book on the culture of wrestling in India. Again, so I was immersed for about a couple of years entirely, just living with wrestlers from various at various parts of India, watching them train, understanding their lifestyle, their culture, what wrestling means to them. So I mean, it came very easily to me that I knew that I had to make a character who was a wrestler, because I knew that that's where I can really get deep into the details, and I know how to bring it to life in a book. And so that was quite an easy choice for me to make one. And of course, when you read the book, you can probably sense that I really like Mira as a
Yeah,
character.
yeah, I could
So
see.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so I
And
wanted
also the
to.
little details that Mira goes to this house where this young woman,
Yes.
girl, sorry, has been killed, and she's just laughing, and she doesn't know how to behave. She
Yeah,
has just come fresh from the wrestling world
that's
and
right.
landed there, and she doesn't know when to keep shut, when to say something, and
Yeah.
yeah, I could see that, such details. It was really immersing. But I also want to know from you that since you were a sports journalist and author who has written Enter the Dangle, when was the time when you decided, like, okay, now I should write a crime fiction?
Okay, it's a very good question with a very complicated answer. I have always wanted to write crime fiction from when I
Oh,
was very young.
oh,
Okay, I've been a fan of the genre since I was maybe 10 years old or something,
oh,
when, or maybe even younger, because when you start with your famous five and five find
yeah.
outers and things like that. And being Bengali, there's Feluda, both the books and the movies, Sherlock Holmes and things. So that world fascinated me a lot. And as a child, I read that kind of detective fiction. And as I grew older and I came into college, I was introduced to the police procedural, which is much more realistic, much more gritty, much more involved with not just the crime but society as a whole. And that opened a completely new window. And I think I had that by the time I was in first year college or second year college, I was like, okay, I'm going to write a detective novel or a police
Oh.
procedural one day.
So it's a long dream that has come true.
Yes, it's a long dream. But I just never knew what to do about it because I was not exposed to the world, so I didn't know about it. So I had these brief sketches of plots and things, characters and things like
Mm.
that. But there was never any meat in it and never enough detail for me to really think that okay, this will work as a book. Till I did my 2 years of crime reporting, and then I was like, okay, now I'm ready. Now I have, I've met the people, I've seen the world, I know, I understand, and I know it a little bit. And yeah, that's how it
And
happened.
during writing, while writing the book, did you meet cops? To get because since I'm also a journalist, so while you're reporting, I was also a crime reporter with Times
Mm,
before. So when you are covering crime, you get to know about the crime world,
yes.
and everything. You every day at the police station chasing cops, asking them murder where sir, this
Mm,
that.
yeah.
But when you started writing the book,
Yes.
did you meet these cops to get more info into their lives? Like,
Yes.
how was it there?
So like I said, I did that actually before I started writing the book. I was doing that because I was doing long form journalism,
Yeah.
which is slightly different from just being doing crime reporting. Where you're concerned with basically the crime,
Yes,
my stories were
correct.
not so. It was not about one particular crime as much as it was about the society in which it is happening and the people who are kind of doing. So one of the long form stories I did, for example, was about what happens when you dial the police emergency number.
Wow.
Okay, and I wanted to know everything about it because I wanted to know who are the people who are sitting in that room getting those calls. All day long they're getting calls: murder, mayhem, robbery, rape,
Yeah.
so all kinds of, like, it's very triggering to be there. And it's an all woman force usually at the
Yeah.
call center. So I wanted to know these women, what their lives are like, what do they feel about receiving these calls. Are there calls that make them angry? Are there calls that bring out emotions and not just your automatic trained reaction? So already I was getting into the lives of these people, and then I went into the dispatch room to see how they are coordinating the response. Then I went into a police PCR van. For a couple of days I was doing all night shifts with police PCR vans. Again, it was entirely an insight into what it's like for the policemen in the PCR van responding to
Yeah, correct.
these
So
things
you've seen these things quite closely
very
to.
closely. Yeah.
So how much time did you take to write this book?
Well, I was writing while I was also doing. I was
Yeah.
a full-time journalist at that point of time, working in an organization. So, well, I had very limited writing time. So it took me about a couple of years, yes, to bring out the first draft. Writing maybe 1 or 2 hours every day in the morning,
Oh,
or at least
that
trying
that's
to write every day in the morning.
that's quite disciplined, like
Yeah,
that way.
trying to, like I said, but sometimes it would be very frustrating. And then I think it took another 6 or 7 months with my editor to work through that draft to make it into something which was readable.
So how challenging was it to fictionalize the real events? Because, when you read the book, you feel like, okay, this happens,
Mm,
that.
mm,
you know but the gravity of it you miss, because
mm,
as you said that a robbery happened outside your society. You don't know what happened to that,
mm,
so you have unfolded that, you have peeled the society layer by layer through the crime lens, through the
mm.
police lens, right?
Yes.
So have you borrowed any character from the real life?
Well, they're all a mix of real things and fictional things, right? So you asked me how difficult was it to fictionalize some of these real things. Actually, it wasn't very difficult because I'll give away a technique, which is basically you take the real thing out of its context, and we put it in a different but similar context, then it
Right.
becomes fiction,
Yeah.
right? So that's what I followed. I made sure that nothing that is actually real appears in its real context.
Yeah.
So all the real things
So
are
the
taken out.
essence is not lost.
Yes. So I had to find other contexts for those real things to actually work in within the parameters of that. I just so I would take some details of a case which is similar to the case that I am working on, and I would use that in a different kind of a context again. So as the same thing with the police people is that they are all my characters are little bits real things taken from real people, how they look, how they talk, how they behave, and then put into and mixed and matched with different characters. So nobody is entirely based on one real person,
Yeah.
and nobody is entirely based on just imagination. So there's both at play for everyone.
So during your stint as a
Yeah,
feature writer,
yeah.
was there, have you come across such a case? Because I can't tell the case because I don't want to give away the plot. Have you come across a similar case, closely similar case?
Yes, yes. There were a lot. I mean, it's not like I didn't follow those cases like that, but I had long conversations about very similar cases. Unfortunately, always involving young women, and and people close to them. So yeah, there was a lot. In fact, one case I remember, I got lots of details because I spoke to the. I finally did not write about it, but I did speak to the policemen investigating, as well as the people who were doing the autopsies, as well as the lawyers, as well as the family. So I knew all the angles of that one case. Which I finally didn't write about because it was under trial and there were
Yeah.
legal problems with writing about that case. But yes, there are similarities. Yes.
After writing the book, what was the one thing that stayed with you? Something that gave you sleepless nights?
Oh,
Because fiction can be very tedious in the sense that building characters, those characters, they stay with you
yeah,
for days.
yes. No, they stay with me all the time. To be fair, and I have so many stories left to tell about them. So they are constantly inside my head
And poking
and
you.
poking me and talking to each other and talking to me and like um, and finding themselves in different scenarios. And um, so they are always there. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my characters, I'm very close to my characters, and but the one thing that's gave me
But what is,
sleepless
tell
nights.
me about the favorite character also after the sleepless nights.
This sleepless night involves the favorite character,
Okay.
which is Mira, right?
Oh,
So now Mira is, like you said, a very good natured person. The part of the reason why she's so good natured is because she's completely naive. She's
yeah,
fresh off the world of sport, which is a very cloistered life where you, at a very young age, get put into a sports hostel, and that's you dedicate your life to it. You barely see the outside world except for
exactly.
competitions, and then to be put into being a police officer where you see the outside world and its most negative side constantly, consistently, every single day. My sleepless thing is how does Mira react to this? How does she lose her naivety and her positivity and her love for life that she brings into this book? By the second book, is she going to be more bitter and cynical? I really don't
So you're
want
coming up
to.
with another book.
Oh, for sure,
Yeah.
yes.
I love the fact, the conflict that you have shown. When Meera goes to this house in Panchil Vihar, she says, these windows, tall windows, humongous, she says, it's a jail.
Huh.
And
That's it.
she couldn't keep it to herself. She just said, it's a jail. And Jishan looks at her and says, stay quiet.
Uh,
So, so that constant conflict that she's going through, right?
yes.
That, as you said, she's naive.
Hmm.
She doesn't know how to talk because she has come from that cloistered world of
Yeah.
wrestling, and she is being exposed to something else, something, she has never, I don't think she never I ever thought that she would be
Yeah.
exposed to such a gritty world,
Yes.
if I can put it like that. And now she doesn't know what to do about it, so she is in a constant conflict with herself. She's talking with herself every time.
Yeah. So I think she's the straightest talker of the lot. And I like that about her. And to answer specifically her reaction to coming to that house and seeing all the concertina wires and all the
Yeah.
security measures, that is something that is it's a personal thing for me because I come from Kolkata where there's zero security. security.
Yeah.
All right. So when I first came into Delhi and I saw all these houses with their extremely high walls and all the barbed wires and everything, and I used to constantly feel very odd. I would be like, why would people need this? I mean, how can you live inside what looks from the outside exactly like a prison? And so I put some of that into Mira. I was like, okay, let me put some of my cultural shocks way back when I first came to Delhi, because Mira is also new to the city. Let me
And she
use
said,
that
"What kind of
experience.
painting is it? Who puts a stone on the wall?" And she's
Yeah.
like,
So
she's
she's got all those reactions, yeah, and I think that Inspector Kumar's relationship with her is also something I really liked building in the book, because Kumar, of course, is the
I loved the way Kumar introduces her
yeah,
to her colleagues, new
yeah,
colleagues, for in
yes,
the case, that
yeah,
how I'm a fan. So that
yeah.
that introduction was really impressive.
Yeah, so Kumar is obviously somebody who feels very fatherly towards her, and he's the opposite extreme of Mira, in that he has spent so many years in the police force. He's very cynical. He has seen everything. He's seen all the violence in the world. Um, well, I shouldn't say that he's cynical, because actually he's come to an age at a time of life where he's starting to feel the effects of having seen so much
Yes.
crime and violence, and that he's at this very weird juncture in his life where he doesn't know what to do with it, because he's spent most of his time in the police force being completely immune to the violence that he
And
sees.
now it's like striking him back.
Now it's striking him, and so when he sees Mira, he wants to be protective. He wants to not, somehow make
Not
it
become like him.
yeah, make it less painful for her,
Her.
even though there is he doesn't really know what to do about that, but he wants it to be less painful for her. But at the same time, he wants her to understand how to do this work. He sees a lot of potential in her, so they have a very, I think, complex and interesting relationship in the book.
Another interesting thing is that how, as I told you, that you have shown Kumar with all his fallacies,
Yes.
right? And one is that he's not available at home.
Mm.
His wife is constantly upset with him that you are not here for the living, but you're always there for the dead.
Mm.
And when he goes missing also, and Jishan calls his wife, and she knows, how would I know? You would know it better.
Yeah.
So these fractured personal lives of these cops, you
Right.
know where did you get this from? Like, did you speak to cops? They confided in you in with such details?
Oh yes, of course. There's some of it is from the people that I spend time with, some of the police officers on the ground, especially. Of course, have very difficult personal lives, because it's the nature of their job that they are really not available at home at all, which makes it very difficult for their families. And very difficult for their children, for their wives. Um, and it's not just about not being available, it's also the nature of the job that you get called at whatever time, right? So you're out of your house all night, you're not coming back home. Maybe you've just come back home at 10:30 at night, and then at 2 o'clock you receive a call and you're out again. So um, it's a very poor life for most people. And there was one time when there was a spate of crime in Delhi, I think about a decade back, when the Home Ministry issued a directive that all SHOs need to spend all night at the Thana. They built a bedroom for the SHO behind their offices, and SHOs do 6-day weeks. So for 6 days every week, they are not going back home at all. They were actually living in the police Thana and then doing their duty and then going back to sleep in the police Thana. So it's I don't know what happens to their personal lives. It's really bad. Um, Even in journalism, sometimes this is true, as you might know, and you've seen people around you who are constantly in office, who
They don't
uh,
get time for
they
anything.
don't. Yeah, exactly. You don't get time for anything. Some
And
people
when
are
they get time, they're with their characters.
they're with their
They can.
characters. Sometimes you're always on call. So especially true for TV.
Yeah.
And I worked in TV for some
Oh,
time,
wow.
and so so that was again, that's where it comes from. Inspector Kumar's difficult personal life comes from the fact that this is really true for a lot of police officers on the ground. I think women do a much better job when they are in the police to balance their personal life with the police work, but men don't do such a good job. And I'm generalizing, of course, but that's what my experience has been. And then some of it also comes from the fact that it is a very well known trope in police procedural crime fiction that the main character or at least one police officer has a terrible personal life and is lonely.
Yeah.
And again, in some ways it's a cliche, but it's a cliche that is true. There is no doubt that that is what happens.
So I would like to end it with this interesting thing that despite the seriousness of the plot, there are many funny things that I found where like these two constables, they love the night duty. They will stop, they will haul their vehicle anywhere, and then they will sleep, and and then this crime happens. They say, what to do? We have to just go there, just stand there, and the cops will, some, you have also shown something like that. Then there was another interesting scene like that when the DCP calls them and he says,
Yeah.
the car, the police jeep gets stripped
Yes.
of all its, so that they ask him that what happened. I had gone to have water, he had gone, so those interesting chunks,
Yeah.
like it makes the novel very engrossing, and it also, it put, like, if I was going through, okay, this is happening, this is happening, oh, I was being very sympathetic about Kumar. Oh, Kumar is so lonely. Oh, Kumar is doing so much of work, and
Yeah.
and then I read about these two constable. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, what a life, what a life. They're saying why they don't like night duties. We love it.
Yeah.
So tell me about a little about it, that, and we will end with that.
Great, great. So I'm so glad you thought that was funny because I actually did it for myself. Because
Oh.
sometimes I would get really depressed with what I was writing. I'm like, okay, this is so serious.
Yeah.
Everybody is so sad. I want to do something to make people a little less sad. So I thought, okay, let's just do And again, this was drawn from real life. The two policemen who like night duty because they can sleep in their PCR van, totally real. I had those two people, and then they were lovely, wonderful people, but they enjoyed what you see in the book. They enjoyed their leisure time when they
Yeah.
were on duty, because and that's why they
And they
always
don't have
wanted
much
to.
to do even if
They
there is a
don't have
murder.
they don't have much to do. Yeah, so that's what they really like, to be in those situations. So yeah, so that was taken from real life, and it was done very purposefully, so that at least when I was writing it, didn't feel depressed while I was writing it. So I'm glad that it works and that you found that funny too.
Thank you, Rudraneil. It was a
Thank you.
lovely interview and a lovely book. Keep watching The Print for more such videos.
Thank you.